With the arrival of spring and the approaching breeding season, a solitary red fox sets out in search of a female. This cunning youngster has detected the pheromones of a vixen in heat nearby, and he doesn't hesitate to pursue her. Having reached sexual maturity, the need to establish a mate with whom to breed is imperative, so this warrior will do everything in his power to obtain it. However, like everything in the wild, this won't be an easy task. Unfortunately for them, the scent of the female in heat attracted other males with the same desire to reproduce. And since neither is willing to back down, the path is marked. They will have to compete for the right to mate. The pitched battle begins with a series of aggressive vocalizations with which the suitors threaten each other. These intimidating growls and barks, coupled with postural displays of dominance, with piercing stares and raised tails, are enough to force the weaker ones to retreat in search of other opportunities. For the two remaining males, simple warnings from their rival won't be enough. Both are determined to breed this season, and with iron will, they charge into the fight. After a series of solid bites and scratches that echo through the serene alpine valley, the short battle has come to an end. One of the foxes, in an impressive display of physical dominance, managed to bring down its opponent. Fortunately for him, the wounds inflicted during the fight were not fatal, and although for the time being, he must continue wandering as a solitary male, he will have the chance to survive another day in the wilds of Switzerland. Through a courtship display that includes gentle caresses and licking, the triumphant male approaches the female for mating. After mating, which can last around 30 minutes, the newly formed pair prepares for the challenges ahead, as they must work as a team to ensure the survival of their future offspring. With a gestation period of only 50 days, the fox pair doesn't have much time to prepare for the arrival of the cubs. They immediately cooperate to prepare the burrow. Digging with swift movements of their front paws, they remove any excess soil from their home, allowing them to move easily through the cave's tunnels. Red foxes typically establish their dens on mountain slopes or among tree roots. However, this cunning canid doesn't tend to settle for just one den. To ensure its survival, it creates a series of secondary shelters throughout its territory, where it can take refuge from the scorching winter cold or escape from the stealthy stalking of a predator. While the female finishes cleaning the den, the male goes hunting, because unlike other animal species, this individual will not abandon his monogamous mate. During the gestation period, the red fox works hard to obtain fresh prey to offer to the female, and, in the not-too-distant future, to her defenseless young. Despite being an omnivorous species, capable of feeding on berries and wild fruits, this predator prefers a piece of fresh meat whenever possible. Given their size of 80 centimeters tall at the shoulders and an average weight of around 10 kilograms, very large prey such as ungulates are beyond the reach of these bold foxes. However, the ferocious canid has countless species at its mercy, especially small rodents like marmots and voles, various birds, reptiles, and some insects, with which to satisfy its voracious appetite. On occasion, this compact but lively carnivore even resorts to surplus slaughter, killing more animals than it can consume, leaving a trail of carcasses in its wake. As night falls, and after several hours of searching for food without success, the canine's precise hearing allows it to detect the rumbling in the grass of a distracted Arctic hare more than 500 paces away. Immediately, taking advantage of the cover offered by the terrain, it approaches its target with a stealthy stride. Once spotted up close, this skilled predator prepares to pounce. Propelling itself with its powerful hind legs, it rises from the ground, landing 2 meters away on top of the terrified prey. For the latter, it is already too late. Its recklessness has culminated in a fatal outcome. However, what is sad for some is a sign of relief for others, because thanks to the hare's sacrifice, the red fox has provided itself with fresh meat to take back to its den, where the female prepares for the arrival of the cubs. After the birth of the new litter of 5 pups, the mother remains with them inside the comfortable shelter. Since being born blind and unable to regulate their body temperature, they depend completely on her for food and warmth. For the first month of life, they feed exclusively on their mother's breast, while the father continues to bring food home to help the female endure such arduous labor. After this time, the young begin to venture into the fascinating but dangerous outside world. Although it is still their father who hunts to feed them, if they want to survive, these developing predators must learn the art of hunting on their own. Fortunately for them, their protective parents will accompany them for at least 7 months, where they will teach them each of their elaborate killing techniques. With time running out and winter approaching, the red fox cubs don't have much time to learn how to survive the cruel wildlife of the Swiss Alps. While the pair of red foxes instructs the younger ones in the imposing rugged mountains, the mountain goat explores the slopes in search of food sources. This herbivorous species has spent much of the spring and summer feeding on the fresh herbs and grasses that lie in the verdant landscapes of the alpine meadows. However, as winter approaches, the succulent green shoots seem increasingly scarce, and the need to find food plagues the group of the so-called alpine ibex. With the landscapes covered in a blanket of white snow and temperatures dropping below zero, finding a source of grazing food becomes increasingly difficult. This is why this ungulate devotes much of its day to the arduous task of satisfying its appetite. Standing 90 centimeters tall at the withers and weighing up to 110 kilos, this robust animal won't settle for crumbs. An adult specimen alone must consume nearly 4 kilos of vegetation a day to maintain its relentless physique. Fortunately, thanks to its sharp, widely spaced hooves, along with rubbery pads between the toes that provide friction and grip, the mountain goat is an excellent climber. This allows it to ascend the steep slopes and rough terrain of mountainous areas in search of food. Even when faced with food shortages, or when they must compete for precious resources with other species, such as red deer or chamois, these agile ungulates are capable of climbing to altitudes exceeding 3,000 meters. All this in order to find any trace of shrub or even moss on which to feed. When it comes to finding food in the punishing winter climate, the mountain goat unleashes all its strategies. This is why it primarily prefers to explore the south-facing mountain slopes, where the snow cover is less dense and the fresh vegetation beneath it is more accessible. After this, the hungry ibex uses its strong hooves to dig deep into the white snow, reaching the green grass below. This tactic undoubtedly allows the ungulate to survive the harsh winter conditions in the Swiss Alps. Although the mountain goat is active nocturnally during the summer, when the cold winter night falls, the tireless mammal decides to seek a warm place to shelter from the low temperatures. Although, unlike other species, this ungulate doesn't build a shelter on its own. It does know how to take advantage of the terrain's conditions. At night, they take refuge on rocky outcrops to protect themselves from the strong gusts of wind, or in certain caves they find along the way, where they find greater protection from the inclement weather. When the sun sinks behind the snow-capped peaks and the cold begins to take hold of the alpine valleys, the mountain changes masters. What belongs to deer, marmots, and chamois during the day surrenders at night to another kind of sovereign, one who doesn't need to impose himself with visible force, but rather reigns in invisibility, in mystery, in the perfect conjunction of silence and lethality. High on a rocky ledge, shrouded in darkness, the eagle owl awakens. Its enormous luminous orange eyes open slowly, capturing even the faintest glimmer of light. They are eyes made to see in the darkness, to read the secret language of the wind, to detect the slightest movement in the distance. It has no need for the bustle of the jungle or the vibrant life of the plains. Its kingdom is the solitudes, the deep ravines, the cliffs where the echo of its flight is never heard. The eagle owl is the largest of its species in Europe. It can reach a wingspan of almost 2 meters and weigh up to 4 kilos. But its true power lies not in its size, but in its absolute precision. Every feather on its body is designed for soundless flight. Each flap of its wings is a perfectly calibrated movement to avoid disturbing the air. It hunts not by brute force, but by total mastery of the art of stalking. As soon as the chill of night settles over the valleys, the owl leaves its hiding place. With a single push of its powerful feathered feet, it launches itself into the void. It spreads its wings. It glides. There is no visible flapping, no apparent effort. It floats like a specter among the shadows, merging with the black of the abyss, with the blue-gray of the snow under the starlight. His hearing, even sharper than his sight, picks up the slightest rustle in the blanket of dry leaves. A field mouse, a young hare, a distracted little fox, every sound tells a story. He doesn't need to see to hunt. He can locate his prey simply by the rustle of a paw in the snow, by the flutter of a nervous wing in the bushes. It glides across the frozen meadows, alert to every vibration, every flash. Its strategy is simple and devastating. Approach unnoticed, calculate the exact moment, and descend in a lightning strike. When it falls, it does so with the force of a projectile. Its claws, razor-sharp and with a pressure capable of breaking bones, close on its target before it even realizes it has been detected. Unlike other hunters, the eagle owl doesn't need long chases. Its success lies in the first strike. A mistake would be costly. In the mountains, where every calorie counts, each failed hunt can mean days of hunger. That's why its technique has been perfected over millions of years of evolution. It's not limited to small prey. When the opportunity permits, it attacks larger animals. Unsuspecting marmots at the entrance to their burrows, young chamois trapped in a ravine, even other smaller predators. Its boldness is legendary. Its reputation, feared. The owl doesn't live alone for no reason. Its solitude is its advantage. It doesn't have to share its hunts. It doesn't compete in groups. Its territory can cover several square kilometers, a domain it patrols regularly, learning every rock, every hidden trail, every improvised nest. During the winter, when snow covers the pastures and life seems to retreat to its burrows, its task becomes more arduous. Prey is scarce, competition is fierce. But it is also during this time that its mastery shines brightest. Where other predators must retreat or migrate, the eagle owl remains. It adapts its diet. It searches in less obvious places. It learns to read the smallest signs that life leaves behind. A trail in the snow, a barely visible footprint, a warm breath in the frosty air. When he's not hunting, he spends his time on the lookout. He perches on high rocks, on dry branches of solitary trees, on natural ledges. There, under the blanket of stars, he remains motionless. Only his eyes move, scanning the landscape, calculating, waiting. He doesn't act on impulse. His patience is infinite. He knows that in the mountains, opportunity rewards not the hasty, but the patient. Reproduction is another challenge in their high-altitude life. In the depths of winter, when most species are still resistant to the cold, the eagle owl is already thinking about the future. It chooses protected crevices and cliffs or inaccessible areas among rocks to establish its nest. The female lays between 1 and 4 eggs and for weeks, cares for them tirelessly while the male provides food. The survival rate is not high. The young are vulnerable to inclement weather, attacks from other predators and food shortages. But those that make it through the early stages will become new guardians of the night, new silent shadows that will perpetuate the owl's dominance over the Alps. Despite its prowess as a hunter, its life is not without threats. Human expansion, the construction of tourist infrastructure in mountainous areas, and the decline in natural prey due to livestock pressure have put many populations of the eagle owl at risk. Although resilient and adaptable, it requires large, undisturbed areas. Its elusive nature does not tolerate constant human proximity well. Some individuals adapt, hunting near rural settlements, taking advantage of the abundance of rodents. But the majority remain loyal to the most inaccessible corners of the mountains, where the wind cuts like knives and snow covers every corner of the landscape. There, amidst absolute silence and eternal stones, it continues to reign. When dawn turns the snowy peaks pink, the owl returns to its refuge. It retreats into the shadows, folding its wings as if closing the curtain on a theater it alone directs. The night fades. The first songs of daytime birds begin to fill the air. Herbivores abandon their hiding places. Day reclaims its dominion. But the eagle owl hasn't disappeared. It's just sleeping, waiting for the next sunset, the next act of its perpetual invisible reign. Because in the Alps, when darkness returns, the true guardian opens his eyes again. When the mist rolls down from the peaks and crashes down into the alpine valleys like a thick tide, the shapes of the forest change. The trees become silent ghosts, the rocks resemble sleeping monsters, and sounds are muffled as if the world itself were holding its breath. In this ethereal setting, amid shadows and whispers, a figure emerges with the solemnity of an ancestral sovereign, the red deer. Their presence doesn't need to be announced with fanfare. The silhouette silhouetted against the mist, the antlers raised like natural crowns, the slow but firm gait that conveys power without arrogance, is enough. The red deer is the living spirit of the Alps, a testament to resilience, adaptation, and survival through the ages. Adult males, imposing and muscular, can weigh up to 250 kilos. Their antlers, which they renew every year, are true symbols of status and strength. Each new tip is an achievement, a battle scar, a sign of maturity. They are not just weapons. They are silent narrators of stories of confrontations, winters overcome, and disputed leadership. For much of the year, deer live in relative tranquility. Females and their fawns form close-knit groups, moving in search of food along the lower slopes and clearings between forests. Males, on the other hand, remain solitary or in small, distant groups, silently building up their strength for the great event that will determine their destiny: the rutting season. As summer gives way to the first chills of autumn, something changes in the air. The leaves begin to turn gold and scarlet. The winds carry aromas of damp earth and resin, and a deep, guttural sound begins to resonate through the valleys. It is the call of the rut, the ancestral roar of deer challenging one another for the right to perpetuate their lineage. During this time, the forest becomes a theater of challenges. Dominant males gather harems of females, tirelessly patrol their domains, drive off lesser rivals, and roar tirelessly, announcing their strength, their readiness, their invincible will to fight. Their bodies, inflated with desire and adrenaline, move like living towers among the undergrowth. Fights, when they occur, are brutal but brief. Two males face each other, test their strength with their eyes, and outline their bodies in tense circles. Then, without warning, they clash their antlers with a dry crash that reverberates through the trees. They push, struggle, and circle. The fight isn't about killing, but about demonstrating superiority. Only the strongest, the most resilient, the most determined will gain control of the harem. Sometimes the vanquished flees wounded. Sometimes the fight leaves scars that mark them forever. Death is rarely the outcome, but every fight has its price. The lost energy, the open wounds, the vulnerability that remains even after victory. The females, meanwhile, watch, not passively, but as true natural judges. They choose the victor, the bearer of the fittest genes, the one who will guarantee the survival of their offspring in a world of deadly winters and lurking predators. Once the rut is over, the dominant males mate the females within a short period of weeks. Then, exhausted, they leave the group and return to their solitude to regain their strength. Meanwhile, the females prepare for the long gestation that will culminate the following spring, when the fields will fill with fresh grass and the flooded rivers will sing of the thawing snow. The life of the red deer is intrinsically linked to the seasons. In summer, it feeds on the abundant grasses of the alpine meadows, accumulating vital fat for the winter. With the arrival of cold weather, it descends to lower altitudes, seeking refuge in coniferous forests, where the snow does not completely cover the ground, and it is still possible to find buds, bark, and lichens. Winter is a test of endurance. Temperatures drop below freezing, food is scarce, and roads become treacherous. Deer reduce their activity to a minimum, conserving energy and moving only when absolutely necessary. The thickness of their fur, adapted to retain body heat, is their best defense against the white death that covers everything around them. But even so, winter takes its toll. The oldest deer, the weakest, the sick, are left behind. Some die of starvation. Others fall prey to the wolves who lurk in the shadows, always alert for the slightest sign of weakness. There is no mercy in the mountains, only natural law. The red deer, however, is not a passive victim. It is a master of evasion. Its senses are extremely finely tuned. Its hearing detects the slightest crunch under the snow. Its sense of smell perceives the scent of a wolf hidden hundreds of meters away. Its powerful musculature allows it to climb impossible slopes, cross frozen ravines, and escape to heights where few predators dare to follow it. With the arrival of spring, life is renewed. Grasses sprout, rivers awaken, meadows fill with flowers. Females give birth to their young in hidden corners, far from hostile eyes. Fawns, spotted white to blend in with the changing light of the forest, are fragile, but incredibly adaptable. They learn to walk in a matter of hours, to run in days, to hide with the first beat of fear. The cycle continues, year after year, generation after generation. The red deer not only survives in the Alps, it defines them. Its heavy yet agile gait shapes the hidden paths between the trees. Its rut is the living echo of the mountains. Its resilience is the most palpable proof that in the heart of nature, life persists not through brute force, but through adaptation, intelligence, and an unbreakable will to endure. And when the mist descends again on the valleys, when the wind brings with it the scent of wet earth and living bark, the silhouette of the red deer rises once more on the horizon, firm, majestic, eternal, proving that in the Alps, as in every wild corner of the world, life goes on. The cold, the scarcity, and the challenges don't matter. The only thing that matters is moving forward. The only thing that matters is persevering. The only thing that matters is keeping going. When snow covers the trails and the alpine valleys transform into an endless sea of white, life seems to stand still. Bare trees creak under the weight of the ice. Rivers freeze in their tracks, trapped in a seemingly eternal winter. The air is so cold that each breath forms tiny ghosts that vanish in the wind. But beneath that icy calm, someone is moving. Light footprints are etched in the snow, barely perceptible to the untrained eye. They are not erratic tracks, but rather marked by purpose, by a clear direction. The wolf advances beneath the starry night, like another shadow in the landscape. The alpine wolf is a tireless traveler, a long-distance hunter, a strategist of the cold. With thick fur and alert ears, its silhouette blends with the silvery reflections of the snow. It has no need to rush. Every step is measured. Every movement conserves energy. In these unforgiving lands, squandering energy means the difference between life and death. Despite its reputation as a fierce hunter, the wolf doesn't always find the bounty its fame suggests. Hunting in the Alps is no easy task. The rugged terrain, sudden storms, and scarcity of prey in winter, everything conspires against it. But its strength never lay in ease, but in adaptability. It can travel more than 30 kilometers in a single night in search of food. It can go days on an empty stomach, without giving up, without despairing. Their greatest advantage is not their speed or their size, but their pack. The wolf is, above all, a social being. Their family is their strength. Together they hunt, together they protect, together they survive. Each member of the pack has a role. There are scouts who track prey, pursuers who exhaust their target, and finishers who strike at the final moment. Coordination is total. There are no shouts, no visible signals, only glances, postures, imperceptible movements that convey clear orders. Once they locate their prey, the attack is a precise choreography. If the target is small, such as an alpine hare, the hunt can be completed in minutes. If it's large, such as an adult red deer, the strategy becomes more elaborate. First, the pack separates the weakest or youngest individuals from the main group. Then, they pursue them until they are exhausted, taking turns to maintain the pressure. Finally, when the victim falters, the wolves surround it and attack simultaneously. It's not a clean or elegant spectacle. It's brutal, necessary, efficient. Every fiber of their being is designed for this act. There's no cruelty, only the urgency of survival. And when the job is done, the pack feeds together, following an order of invisible hierarchies, where the leaders eat first and the young wait their turn. Snow is their ally, but also their enemy. Sound travels farther in the cold, making surprise more difficult. Footprints betray their path. The energy they must expend moving in deep snow is considerable. Every decision counts. Every failed hunt is a blow to their reserves, but their resilience is legendary. It can survive temperatures that would make more robust animals shiver. It can adapt to changing diets, hunting rodents when deer are unavailable, scavenging when it can't kill. It can even move between altitudes, descending into valleys in search of food, or ascending to more inaccessible areas to avoid human contact. Because while nature represents a constant challenge, the greatest danger to the wolf remains humans. For centuries, wolves were relentlessly persecuted in Europe. Myths, fear, and competition with shepherds turned them into public enemies. Hunted, poisoned, and cornered, they disappeared from large areas of the Alps for much of the 20th century. Their howls, which once resonated as part of the very soul of the mountains, faded from the collective memory. But nature has a peculiar way of reclaiming what is hers. In recent decades, thanks to conservation efforts and changes in wildlife management policies, wolves have returned. At first timidly, then with increasing presence. Groups from Italy and France crossed the invisible human borders to reclaim their former territories. Today, the Alps are their home again, although coexistence is not always easy. The relationship between wolves and humans remains tense. Occasional attacks on livestock fuel old fears. But there is also admiration, respect, and even cooperation in some communities that have learned to coexist with them, protecting their herds without resorting to violence. The return of the wolf not only signifies the recovery of a species, but also the restoration of an ecological balance that had been disrupted. In forests and valleys where wolves are present, deer and roe deer populations are naturally regulated. Vegetation recovers. Ecosystems flourish in complexity and health. The wolf, as a top predator, acts as an invisible architect of the landscape. During the day, the pack rests in hidden places, dense thickets, deep canyons, natural caves. They huddle together, sharing body heat, protecting the young. The pups, born in spring, play with each other, practicing the movements they will one day perfect on real hunts. The adults watch them closely, correcting with soft growls, guiding them patiently. When night falls, everything changes. The wolves wake up, stretch their bodies, and greet each other by touching their snouts and necks. The night air calls to them, and then they raise their heads to the sky and howl. The wolf's howl isn't just a sound, it's a declaration, a message of belonging, of location, of coordination. It's also a warning to other packs. This territory is occupied. This forest, this valley, this mountain has an owner. The sound travels for miles through the mountains, bouncing off the rock walls, enveloping everything in an ancient vibration that seems to remind every creature that, despite everything, nature lives on. And so, in the winter silence of the Alps, where the wind cuts like knives and the moon casts long shadows on the white blanket, the wolves move. They are not ghosts, although many mistake them for such. They are life in motion. They are the guardians of a balance that existed long before the roads were laid out and the peaks conquered. They continue forward, step by step, through the virgin snow, leaving behind only footprints and an echo that fades into the immensity of the forest. Because as long as there are wolves in the Alps, the night will never be empty. There will always be something moving at the edge of vision, something that belongs to the mountain as much as the wind, the rock, and the snow. The mountains, at their peaks, offer a silence distinct from that of the valleys. It is not the absolute silence of the abyss, but a silence filled with tension. Up there, where the wind is constant and the snow never completely melts, life seems to have given up. But if you stop long enough, if you look closely at the white rocky landscape, you will notice something moving. A flicker on the edge of a rock. A shadow that blends into the snow. Something small, swift, almost imperceptible. It's the mountain hare, also known as the alpine hare, a survival specialist, a champion of camouflage, a creature that has made the edge its home. The mountain hare does not seek refuge in dense forests or temperate valleys. It prefers high altitude, difficult terrain, and windswept cliffs. Its body has been sculpted to withstand what others avoid. Its coat changes with the seasons. In summer, it takes on shades of brown and ochre, adapted to the stony soils and sparse vegetation. In winter, it turns completely white, like the snow that covers the world. Only the tips of its ears retain a small dark rim, like a personal signature. This ability to camouflage itself isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. The mountain hare isn't a predator. It's prey, always. Everything about it is designed to avoid being seen. Its long, powerful hind legs make it a lightning-fast force. Its eyes, located on the sides of its skull, give it an almost complete field of vision. Its mobile ears pick up the smallest sounds even under the snow, and its instinct, honed by generations of pursuit, allows it to anticipate danger before it even appears. During the day, it remains mostly motionless, hidden among rocks or under small bushes, protecting itself from the cold and the prying eyes of eagles and owls. It only moves when the sun begins to set, or when it needs to feed. Its diet is not varied, but it is resilient. It consumes grasses, bark, lichens, shoots, whatever is available in each season. It can survive on very little. Its stomach is efficient, its metabolism tuned to a minimum, but what makes it truly admirable is its ability to navigate the most hostile terrain. While other species shy away from deep snow, it traverses it with ease. Its paws, covered in thick fur, act like snowshoes, distributing its weight and preventing it from sinking. It can run, turn, jump, and climb on icy surfaces with astonishing agility, and when necessary, it disappears with a single leap, leaving behind only a cloud of white dust. The alpine hare doesn't live in large groups. It's discreet, solitary, and reserved. However, in some areas, it can be found in small gatherings, especially during the winter, when food is scarce and certain areas become more attractive. Despite its vulnerable nature, it's adaptable. It knows how to measure its movements. It knows when to stay still and when to fly over the snow. But despite all their skills, the threat is always present. From the sky, the golden eagle watches. From the shadows of the forest, the lynx waits. From a distance, the eagle owl plans its descent. And when wolves ascend, looking for easy prey, the hare is at the top of their list. Every day is a gamble. Every night a test. There is no respite. There is no room for error. The strategy, then, is to not be. To not be. To not stand out. To go unnoticed. To be part of the landscape. Reproduction occurs in spring, when the snow begins to retreat and the valleys slowly open up to life. The female, after a gestation of just over a month, gives birth to several fully furred, open-eyed young. Unlike other lagomorphs, hares are not born blind or defenseless. They are ready to move, to hide, to begin their learning of evasion. They don't build burrows. The young are born in shallow depressions in the ground called beds. There they remain hidden, separated from each other so as not to attract the attention of predators. The mother visits them only to nurse, at changing schedules without routine, so as not to leave an obvious trace. It is a motherhood based on caution, distance, and strategy. As they grow, the young learn to recognize danger, read the wind, and anticipate movements in the sky. Their muscles strengthen. Their fur adjusts to changes in the weather. Within a few weeks, they can fend for themselves. However, few reach adulthood. Life in the mountains is unforgiving, but those who survive become experts in the art of escape, the art of not being caught, the art of persisting where others fail. The mountain hare doesn't seek confrontation. It doesn't fight. It doesn't defend itself with claws or fangs. Its strength lies in its discretion, in its evolutionary humility, in its astonishing ability to integrate into the world without altering it. And that is precisely what makes it indispensable, because wherever it lives, it helps maintain the balance of alpine ecosystems. It's a key prey for numerous predators. It disperses seeds. It's a natural indicator of habitat health. Its presence or absence reveals the state of the environment. When a hare disappears, it's a sign that something has broken down. Today, despite its relative abundance, it faces new threats. Global warming affects snow cycles. Its winter camouflage becomes useless if the snow disappears prematurely. Winter tourism invades its refuges. Ski resorts and human-made trails disrupt its traditional routes. And although she's rarely seen, She's always nearby, watching, hidden, running in the distance, leaving only the echo of a leap, the fleeting mark of a body moving away. As the sun begins to set behind the rocky ridges and the temperature plummets, the hare peeks out from its hiding place. It sniffs the air, listens to the silence. It hops once, then again, and soon it's gone again, like a breeze that barely touched the ground. No one applauds her, no one admires her, but she's still there, day after day, night after night, surviving high above, where life is a balancing act, where every heartbeat counts. Because in the Alps, not all heroes have claws. Some just have long legs, sharp ears, and a silent determination to never give up. When air currents rise from the icy valleys to the windswept peaks, a golden silhouette glides majestically over the void. It doesn't flap its wings. It doesn't fight the air. It just soars, suspended in space like a living fragment of the landscape. It's the golden eagle, the undisputed ruler of the alpine skies. Its wingspan can reach 2.5 meters. Its plumage, dark brown with golden highlights on the nape of the neck, shines when the sunlight breaks through the morning mist. Its powerful curved talons are weapons designed to seize, tear, and kill. But its true strength lies not in violence. It lies in its patience, its calculation, its absolute mastery of the wind, and its ability to wait. From its vantage point on the most inaccessible cliffs, the eagle observes. Nothing escapes its keen gaze. From dizzying heights, it can detect the slightest movement of a distracted marmot, a trusting hare, even a young chamois clumsily descending a steep slope. Its eyes, 5 times more powerful than those of humans, allow it to read the world in impossible detail. Every shadow, every vibration, every flash is recorded, analyzed, and interpreted. It doesn't hunt on impulse. It doesn't rush into the void with the haste of a novice. It plans. It waits. It chooses. Energy in the mountains is too precious to waste on mistakes. When it attacks, it does so with brutal certainty. It folds its wings, dives at over 200 kilometers per hour, and at the last instant extends its talons to capture its prey with a violence and precision that leave no room for escape. Not all hunts end in success. Some prey manage to evade it. Some escapes turn into aerial chases over gorges, into silent duels of endurance and cunning. But the eagle, patient, does not despair. Each failed attempt is only a prelude to the next. Their diet is varied. Marmots, alpine hares, medium-sized birds, and even young chamois are part of their menu. In winter, when life hides beneath the snow, the eagle does not hesitate to turn to carrion. Its keen vision allows it to find carcasses hidden in the white landscape, remains of prey abandoned by wolves, or natural falls. Because at high altitudes, opportunism is not a flaw but a virtue. The golden eagle not only dominates the air, it also dominates the territory. Each pair establishes a domain that can cover up to 150 square kilometers, an area they patrol tirelessly, marking their presence with ceremonial flights, dogfights, and constant vigils. Fidelity between mates is another of their most notable traits. Once formed, the eagle pair remains united for life. Together, they defend their territory. Together, they hunt. Together, they build and maintain the nest, a huge structure of branches, bones, and vegetation located on inaccessible rocky outcrops. This nest, called an eyrie, can measure several meters in diameter and can be used for generations, reinforcing it year after year. The breeding season begins in late winter. The female lays 1 or 2 eggs, although usually only one of the chicks survives. This isn't a matter of lack of food, but of natural selection. The strongest, the quickest to claim food, displaces its sibling. A silent battle waged from the cradle itself, where survival rewards strength and determination. The first months of life are critical. The eaglet, devoid of real feathers, is completely dependent on its parents. The female remains in the nest protecting it, while the male takes care of the hunt. Each food delivery is a victory in itself. A marmot plucked from a cliff, a hare captured in a perfect leap, a pigeon shot down in mid-flight. As the weeks pass, the young eagle strengthens its muscles, learns to spread its wings, and practices clumsy leaps at the edge of the nest. And finally, one summer day, driven by an instinct stronger than fear, it takes off. It's not a perfect flight. It's a clumsy, chaotic flapping of its wings. But it's the beginning of its reign, Juvenile mortality is high. Learning to hunt is not an immediate gift. Many youngsters die before they succeed. But those who survive, who master the art of gliding, stalking, and capturing, become new rulers of the alpine winds. However, not even the golden eagle is untouchable. Human threats are a constant. Power lines, tourist development, and mountain activities disrupt their traditional territories. The reduction in natural prey, caused by livestock pressure or sport hunting, also affects their reproductive success. And although they now enjoy legal protection in most alpine countries, their numbers remain fragile, dependent on the active conservation of their habitats. The eagle, proud, endures. It adapts. It learns to coexist, to modify its flight paths to seek alternative prey. But every time a nest is abandoned, every time a cliff ceases to be a home, the ecosystem loses more than just a bird. It loses one of its invisible architects, one of its oldest guardians. Despite everything, as long as there are nameless valleys, forgotten peaks, windswept slopes, the golden eagle will remain. Soaring high, where even the human eye cannot reach it. Braving the storms, riding the invisible currents that cross the mountains. When the wind whistles through the rocks and the clouds part, revealing fragments of blue sky, all you have to do is look up. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you can see a golden shadow floating in the air. It's not flapping its wings, it's not fleeing, it's just watching. And then one understands that it doesn't matter how many paths we trace, how many peaks we conquer, how many borders we invent. In the Alps, the true sovereign needs neither thrones nor crowns. She needs only the wind, the sky, and her own greatness. The Queen of Heaven doesn't ask permission, she simply exists. And her existence is enough to remind us that in the heights, the law remains wild, free, and untamed. As the sun begins to warm the alpine meadows and the snow slowly retreats toward the highest peaks, a subtle murmur awakens beneath the earth. It's not the roar of a large predator, or the winds whispering among the rocks. It's a more discreet, more intimate sound, announcing the awakening of one of the mountain's most iconic inhabitants, the alpine marmot. For months, these creatures have slept beneath the ice, sheltered in complex burrows dug into the sunniest slopes. There, in warm, protected tunnels, they have survived the winter thanks to a deep lethargy, lowering their heart rate to just a few beats per minute, and reducing their body temperature to almost equal that of the frozen ground. In this state of hibernation, suspended between life and sleep, the marmots have endured the cruelest of seasons. But now, as the ground begins to thaw and the first green shoots appear between the stones, the marmots awaken. They emerge staggering, thin, hungry, their whiskers still covered in damp earth. The first thing they do is inspect their surroundings, sniff the air, listen. Because even though winter has subsided, dangers still lurk. The alpine marmot is a robust-looking animal with a stocky body, thick fur, and strong legs adapted for digging. It can reach up to 8 kilos in weight in summer, when its body prepares to store the energy needed for the next hibernation period. Its life revolves around an unchanging cycle of waking, feeding, keeping watch, and finally sleeping again underground. They live in close-knit family communities, organized around territories they vigorously defend against other groups. Each colony has a system of interconnected burrows, veritable underground fortresses that protect the family from predators and extreme weather. These burrows are not improvised. They have resting chambers, escape tunnels, ventilation openings, and even specific chambers for accumulating dry grass, which will serve as bedding during hibernation. During the day, marmots alternate between feeding and watching. They move slowly through the meadows, searching for grasses, flowers, roots, and succulent stems. Their incisors grow continuously, adapted to gnawing all types of fibrous vegetation. They eat in enormous quantities during the warm season, transforming their food into a layer of fat essential for surviving the coming winter. But while they eat, they never let their guard down. There's always a lookout, a marmot rearing up on its hind legs, scanning the horizon for threats. Its eyesight is keen, and its hearing even more so. At the slightest hint of danger, the lookout lets out a short, sharp whistle that pierces the valley. At the first sound, all the marmots freeze. At the second, they stampede back to their burrows. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter what they leave behind. Survival is the top priority. Because in the Alps, danger can come from anywhere. From the sky, golden eagles patrol tirelessly, looking for distracted prey. From the ground, foxes prowl, taking advantage of any carelessness. Even wolves occasionally stalk the colonies, hoping to catch a straggler. The marmot's defense lies not in combat, but in prevention. Its speed, its awareness of the terrain, and above all, its ability to anticipate and attack are its best weapons. And when it manages to reach its burrow, the predator rarely manages to catch it. The tunnels are too narrow for a fox, too deep for an eagle, and if one entrance is compromised, there's always another way out. In addition to their constant vigilance, marmots use a complex array of vocalizations to communicate. Not all whistles are created equal. Some calls are specific to aerial threats, and others to ground predators. There are urgent warning tones, and others are simple alerts. Each sound, each variation, has a clear meaning for the members of the colony. Reproduction occurs shortly after awakening from hibernation. Mating is brief but crucial, as the window of opportunity is limited. Females give birth in summer, in the deepest and safest chambers of the burrows. The pups are born blind, naked, and completely dependent. For weeks they remain hidden, nourished exclusively by their mother's milk. When they finally emerge, they are small balls of fluff, curious and clumsy. Their learning is accelerated. They must quickly understand the warning signs, the routes to shelter, the invisible dangers lurking beyond the flowery meadows. In the groundhog's world, there is no room for prolonged innocence. As summer progresses, the young marmots grow rapidly. They become involved in surveillance duties, learn the boundaries of their territory, and explore under adult supervision. The community functions as a whole, a collective organism where each member has their place and role. But abundance is ephemeral. When the nights begin to cool again, when the color of the grass changes from vibrant green to faded gold, the marmots understand that time is running out. Their instinct drives them to intensify their feeding, to store every ounce of fat possible. Their bodies urgently demand preparation for the long sleep that lies ahead. Then, little by little, the burrow entrances close. They are sealed with earth, grass, and stones. Inside, the family huddles together, sharing warmth, reducing movement. The heart beats slower. Breathing becomes imperceptible. Life pauses. Outside, winter will reclaim the mountains. Snow will cover the hidden entrances. The wind will sweep the valleys. Predators will seek other prey. And for 6 long months, the marmots will be nothing more than sleeping shadows beneath the earth. However, his legacy is not one of fragility. The marmot is a symbol of alpine resilience, of the ability to adapt to rhythms not measured in days or seasons, but in eternal cycles of life, death, and rebirth. It is a reminder that intelligence is not always measured by ferocity, but also by prudence. That strength is not always found in aggression, but in cooperation. Today, marmots continue to resist, even as their world changes. Human expansion, mass tourism, and climate change affect their grasslands, modify their access to food, and disrupt the ancestral rhythms that have guided their lives for millennia. But as long as there are secluded corners, as long as there are untouched hillsides and valleys where the grass grows freely, the marmot's voice will continue to resonate, brief, sharp, unmistakable. A spark of life amidst the stones, a testament to the fact that even in the harshest terrain, ingenuity and community can overcome brutality. And when spring returns, when the ice recedes and life awakens once more, the marmots will emerge again, with clumsy steps, with watchful eyes, with hearts that have learned to beat to the patient rhythm of the mountain. At the highest peaks of the Alps, where cliffs slash against the sky and vegetation barely manages to cling to the bare rock, lives a master of verticality, a creature that has transformed impossible slopes into natural paths, sharp cliffs into playgrounds, and the threat of falling into a simple condition of the landscape. It is the chamois, the agile and silent spirit of the peaks. The chamois is no ordinary animal. It's a marvel of adaptation. Its compact body with powerful yet flexible muscles is made for the mountains. Its short, sturdy legs end in hooves that are hard on the outside and soft on the inside, acting like suction cups that adhere to rocks. Its balance defies logic. Its speed on difficult terrain seems to mock gravity. With its brown fur in the summer and grayer and thicker in the winter, the chamois knows how to protect itself from the biting wind and sudden snowfalls. Its black horns, curved backward in an elegant arc, are the same in males and females, although they are larger in the former. They are not excessive weapons of battle like those of other ungulates. They are symbols of maturity, tools of defense, and in critical moments, instruments of discreet dominance. Living at high altitudes comes at a price. Food is scarce, exposure to the elements is constant, and predators lurk from the ground and sky. But the chamois has perfected a way of life based on mobility and perpetual vigilance. It doesn't stay in one place for long. It moves to different altitudes depending on the season, seeking young grass in spring and safe shelters in winter. Herds are small, generally composed of females and their young, while adult males tend to be more solitary, joining groups during the mating season. Social cohesion is strong, based on trust and visual communication. A flick of the ears or a change in posture is enough to alert the entire group. The chamois never completely lets its guard down. Feeding on shoots, lichens, and small shrubs that emerge between the rocks, its body is constantly tense, ready to leap, to climb, to disappear. At the slightest hint of danger, be it the flapping of an eagle's wings above, or the crunch of a predator among the stones, the chamois flees in a succession of impossible leaps, ascending slopes that would be lethal to almost any other animal. It is in movement that the chamois shows its greatness. He can run at full speed down slopes with an incline of more than 40 degrees, leap from rock to rock with surgical precision, and stop on a ledge just a few centimeters long without losing his balance. His heart beats fast, but his mind remains cool. Every jump is calculated, every push adapts to the terrain. Falling is a possibility, yes, but the chamois turns it into an assumed risk, not a certainty. The mating season begins in late autumn, when the first serious cold weather heralds the arrival of winter. Males come down from their solitary territories and seek out females. Disputes are inevitable, but rarely fatal. Confrontations consist of running, lateral shoving, and sharp rapid-fire horn clashes. Strength matters, but so does endurance, strategy, and the ability to read the opponent. After mating, females gestate for almost 6 months. Birth occurs in spring, when the world begins to melt from the ice. The young, called kids, are born in secluded places, protected from the winds and the eyes of predators. Within hours, the kids can stand up. Within days, they are jumping and climbing with a skill that would seem impossible in such young creatures. Their survival depends on this accelerated learning. Every misstep can be fatal. Every distraction, a death sentence. But nature has endowed the chamois with a fierce instinct for life, a spark of agility that ignites from their first breath. Winter, however, is unforgiving. When snow covers the alpine meadows and temperatures plummet, the chamois descends slightly in altitude, seeking slopes where the wind has cleared the snow and exposed some food. They gather in sunnier areas, remain active during the day, and rest during the harshest nights. Their metabolism slows. They reduce their movements. They conserve their energy as a vital resource. But even in times of scarcity, vigilance does not cease. Predators never completely disappear. Wolves patrol the mountain passes. Golden eagles swoop down on straggling goats. Lynxes glide silently through the shadows of the crags. The chamois knows that strength won't save it. Only speed, anticipation, the ability to read the mountain and become one with it. And when storms rage, when gales turn the snow into invisible blades, the chamois doesn't seek deep shelter. It huddles against the rocks, protecting itself from the wind with its own body, trusting in its fur, its resilience, its ancestral instinct. Despite its strength, the chamois faces newer threats that don't come with claws and fangs. The fragmentation of their habitat, caused by human infrastructure such as roads and ski resorts, hampers their traditional movements. The rise of mountain tourism, although seemingly harmless, alters their behavior, forcing them to change routes and lose access to critical food sources. Furthermore, increasingly unpredictable winters, a consequence of climate change, affect their ability to adequately prepare for harsh seasons. But the chamois resists, because her life has always been a gamble against the odds, because her home has always been on the edge of the abyss, where beauty and danger are irrevocably intertwined. When you look up at the vertical rock walls, amid the dusting of snow suspended in the air, you can sometimes make out a tiny figure, barely a movement. A body that defies the laws of gravity, moving with the confidence of someone who truly belongs there. It's the chamois, moving among the cliffs like an ancient spirit, like a pulse of life where it seems nothing can survive. In the Alps, where the wind never rests and the rock never yields, the chamois reminds all who observe it that true greatness isn't always the most visible. Sometimes it's the one that zips between the rocks, the one that defies the void with every leap, the one that clings to life without needing applause or recognition. The spirit of the heights lives on, and as long as there are bare peaks and windswept cliffs, the chamois will continue to dance on the invisible borders where life and death touch at every step. High in the alpine skies, where the air is thin and clouds skim the peaks as if trying to merge with the stone, a majestic shadow describes wide circles across the firmament. It does not rush, it does not stir. It glides solemnly, as if gravity itself paid tribute to it. It does not seek live prey. It does not hunt. Its reign is not based on stalking or pursuit, but on something older, more necessary, the silent cycle of death. It is the bearded vulture, the forgotten angel of the mountain, the collector of remains, the discreet guardian of natural balance. With its wings spread, it can reach a wingspan of almost 3 meters. Its body, covered in feathers ranging from white to rusty gold, seems bathed in the light of dawn. Its head, small in proportion to its massive body, culminates in intense reddish eyes that survey the terrain with patient calm. The black feathered beard beneath its sharp beak gives it an ancient appearance, as if it were a creature from a forgotten era. But it is its diet that makes it an astonishing oddity. The bearded vulture doesn't feed on fresh meat, nor does it compete for the soft remains of a carcass. Its specialty is the bone, that hard forgotten part, despised by other scavengers. While wolves and foxes tear at muscles, while crows and eagles tear at tendons, the bearded vulture waits, patiently, distantly. It knows its time will come when everyone else has had their fill. Then it descends with dignity upon the abandoned carcass. With its powerful beak, it tears out the bones that others haven't touched. If they're small, it swallows them whole. Its stomach, more acidic than that of any other vertebrate, can dissolve bone tissue in a matter of hours, extracting vital nutrients that others can't use. If the bones are too large, he performs a technique that has amazed observers for centuries. It flies with the bone in its talons to considerable heights. Then, it drops it onto the rocks, once, twice, 3 times if necessary, until the bone breaks into manageable fragments. It's an act of practical intelligence, of behavioral adaptation, of evolutionary mastery. There's no chance in that gesture. Only a precise calculation, fine-tuned by generations of bearded vultures who learned to survive where others succumbed. Their presence not only clears the landscape of debris that could spread disease, it also symbolizes closure, the culmination of the life cycle. What began as vibrant life, passed through death, and now, through the bearded vulture, returns to the earth, transformed into invisible energy. Despite its size and formidable appearance, the bearded vulture is a discreet creature. It prefers the most remote regions, far from human activity, where vertical cliffs offer safe nesting sites and hidden valleys guarantee access to food sources. Its flights are silent, its movements are measured. It doesn't hunt, it doesn't chase, it only waits and gathers. Its life is a meditation on patience and usefulness. Each pair of bearded vultures controls a vast territory, which can exceed 100 square kilometers. They are monogamous, and their bond can last a lifetime. Together, they seek out the most inaccessible places to build their nests. Impossible cliff ledges, protected from the elements and land-based predators. Nest building is a monumental task. They use dry branches, sheep wool, moss, bones, and all sorts of found materials. The result is a wide and deep structure, which they repair and expand year after year. In this shelter suspended between rock and sky, the female generally lays 1 or 2 eggs in late winter. Incubation is long and arduous, and both parents take turns warming the eggs and protecting them from the bitter cold. Only one chick usually survives, the strongest, the most determined. Competition is brutal even in the nest, because survival in the Alps rewards not compassion, but strength and resilience. For months, the parents feed the young bearded vulture bone fragments, teaching it to digest what others would discard, preparing it for a destiny in which its life will depend on its ability to read the wind, locate death, and transform it into life. The young take a long time to become independent. They first learn to jump from one edge to another, then to glide clumsily, until they finally manage to take flight on their own. The juvenile mortality rate is high. Many do not survive the first winter, but those who manage to overcome the initial trials become true masters of the sky. For centuries, the bearded vulture was the subject of myths and superstitions. It was said to attack lambs, to carry off children, to cause misfortune. Stories born of a fear of the misunderstood, of an inability to accept that such an imposing being could feed only on bones. These legends led to its systematic persecution in Europe. It was hunted, poisoned, and expelled from vast areas of its ancestral territory. By the beginning of the 20th century, it had almost completely disappeared from the Alps. But nature, when given the opportunity, finds ways to heal. Thanks to reintroduction programs and a change in public perception, the bearded vulture has returned. Since the 1980s, captive-bred specimens have been released at strategic locations in the Alps. The first flights of these pioneers were tentative and uncertain, but little by little, generation after generation, the bearded vultures have reclaimed the skies that were once theirs. Today, although their numbers remain small, it is possible to see them once again soaring over forgotten valleys, performing their aerial rituals on the peaks, silently fulfilling their mission of closing the cycles of life. When you look up and see that majestic shadow glide effortlessly through the updrafts, when you hear the slow, powerful beat of its wings on a windy day, you understand that you are not simply seeing a bird. You are witnessing an act of natural redemption, a whisper of hope in a world that so often forgets its most silent guardians. The bearded vulture needs neither applause nor monuments. Their flight is their proclamation, their existence, an elegant resistance against oblivion. In the Alps, where time seems measured in geological ages, the Angel of Carrion continues to write his story. A story that speaks not of death, but of continuity, of respect for life in all its forms, of the certainty that even bones, even what seems inert, have a sacred role in the great fabric of the world. And as long as the mountains continue to rise toward the sky, as long as the valleys continue to hide secrets beneath the snow, the bearded vulture will remain there, hovering above us, reminding us that in death there is also beauty, and in patience, a form of immortality. When the forest becomes dense, when the trees grow so close together that they barely let in the light, when moss covers the stone and the silence becomes as thick as fog, a ghost appears. It leaves no visible footprints, it makes no sound, it arouses no suspicion. It just stands there, fused with the landscape, watching, measuring, waiting. It is the lynx, the most elusive hunter of the Alps. Of all the predators that inhabit the mountains, the lynx is perhaps the most mysterious. It lacks the spectacular nature of the eagle, or the commanding presence of the wolf. It doesn't roar, it doesn't howl, it doesn't stamp its feet. Its power lies in its invisibility, its absolute stealth, and a seemingly inhuman patience. It is a master of stalking, an artist of camouflage, a predator that hunts quietly and disappears without a trace. Its agile, muscular body is a masterpiece of evolution for moving through the undergrowth. It can weigh up to 30 kilos, but its gait is so light that not even dry leaves crunch under its feet. Its mottled, seasonally changing coat makes it indistinguishable among the dead leaves, tree trunks, and snow. Its wide, padded legs allow it to move gracefully even in deep snow, where other animals sink or tire. But what stands out most is his gaze. Their golden eyes with vertical black pupils seem to pierce through matter. They are designed to hunt in low light, to detect the slightest movement, to see where others only sense. And next to those eyes are their ears, crowned with a tuft of black hair. They are not merely decorative. They act as directional receptors, amplifying surrounding sounds, fine-tuning perception. Every creak, every breath, every rustle of wings is recorded. The lynx is a solitary hunter. It doesn't rely on a pack or collective tactics. It hunts alone, choosing medium-sized prey, hares, marmots, young roe deer, and large birds. Its method is almost always the same: stalk, wait, and somersault. It approaches unseen, hiding behind bushes, among fallen trunks or raised areas, and when it's a few meters from its target, it pounces with brutal power, catching its prey with its powerful curved claws. It doesn't chase. It doesn't exhaust. It hunts in a single movement, precise, lethal. Afterward, it drags its prey to a secluded spot. It eats what it needs and sometimes covers it with leaves or snow before returning later. It's not a gluttonous animal. Its feeding rhythm is slow, ritualistic. It can go days without hunting if the prey is large enough. And during that time, it becomes almost invisible, as if it weren't there. But it's there. It's always there. Lynx territories are vast. Each individual needs tens of square kilometers to live. They constantly patrol their domains, marking with urine, rubbing their cheeks against trees, and leaving marks that only other lynxes can interpret. Contact between them is rare. Encounters are rare and generally brief, except during mating season. In spring, when the snow begins to retreat and the forest regains its ancestral green, lynxes search for mates. The males emit guttural meows that break the silence of the forest, a hoarse song that travels through the trees like an echo from another time. The females, receptive for a short time, respond. If the encounter is consummated, they separate shortly afterward. There is no subsequent bond. The offspring will be the sole responsibility of the mother. Gestation lasts about 2 months. The female gives birth in a protected hiding place, a rock crevice, a hollow log, or a natural nest where darkness and silence guarantee safety. The pups are born blind and vulnerable. They remain in the shelter for weeks. They feed exclusively on their mother's milk and are completely dependent on their mother's care. As the months pass, the young lynxes begin to leave their shelter. First, they explore their surroundings. Then, they accompany their mother on short excursions. They observe how she hunts, how she moves, how she chooses her hiding places. They learn by imitation, by instinct. And when winter comes, they must be prepared, because their mother at some point will leave them. Not out of cruelty, but because that's how it's always been. Independence is the first requirement for survival. Not all make it. Winter is harsh and mistakes are costly. But those who survive their first year become well-rounded hunters, ready to claim their own territory and continue the solitary and sacred cycle of the lynx. But it wasn't always like this. For centuries, the lynx was considered a threat to human hunting. The roe deer, hares, and birds it hunted were viewed as human property. It was hunted, exterminated, and eradicated from large regions of Europe. In the Alps, its presence was completely wiped out in many areas. Only in recent decades, through reintroduction programs, has it returned to these forests. Specimens bred in captivity or transported from other regions were released into protected areas. Some died, others adapted, and a few, the most discreet, the most tenacious, managed to found new generations. Today, the lynx has returned to the Alps. It's still rare, still difficult to see, but it's there. Its presence is detected by tracks in the snow, by the trails of prey, by images captured by camera traps. It doesn't seek attention. It simply demands a space where it can do what it has done for thousands of years: hunt, move silently, keep watch. Their return has had profound effects on the ecosystem. Where the lynx returns, prey populations are balanced. Forests regenerate better. The food chain is completed. Its role, though subtle, is essential. It acts as an invisible regulator, a silent physician of the landscape. But its survival remains fragile. It requires large areas undisturbed by humans. Roads, urbanization, and uncontrolled tourism fragment its habitat. Roadkill and illegal hunting still pose real threats. And as a solitary predator, its reproduction is slow, its expansion cautious. Still, it endures. Because the lynx is patient. It doesn't need to dominate immediately. It just needs a bit of forest, a bit of time, a bit of silence. When night falls on the Alps and the forest becomes a labyrinth of shadows, the lynx slips between the trunks like a thought, like an ancient idea that no one remembers but that everyone senses. It makes no sound. It leaves no trace. But when you've seen it, even just once, you know you've witnessed something more than an animal. You've seen the hidden guardian of the mountains. The invisible hunter keeps walking, and as long as he does, the forest will remain truly wild.